Welcome back to the Philosophy of Half-Life. In this video, I'm gonna be focusing mainly on time. The subject of time is one of my favorite topics within philosophy and physics, and I've seriously probably spent hundreds of hours thinking about this. This sort of stuff is absolutely and understandably mind-boggling, and it's kind of impossible to find true, objective answers to them, and really it's all just really abstract and weird in every way. But I've spent a lot of time making sure that this video is at least structured in a way, so that every explanation and discussion is coherent and logical, and tackles as many topics as possible. And I hope everything is easy to follow. Nonetheless, it still might be confusing sometimes, and I hope you're not discouraged by this. But if you're someone who loves thinking about existential topics until the gears in your head run at full speed, and you love that frustrated but compelling urge to still somehow find answers, then this video might just be exactly for you. And with that long intro out of the way, let's start getting into the main video. As always, there are a few questions I'm going to try and answer in this video. These questions are: what is time? What is determinism, and how does it connect to the universe of Half-Life? If and how can the G-Man see the future? If and how can the G-Man time travel? We know that the Vortigaunts can share thoughts. They can remember all of their history within their own minds. As long as one single Vortigaunt remains alive, all past experiences of all Vortigaunts are stored and shared in their hive mind called the Vortessence, where every event of the past witnessed by a Vortigaunt is preserved forever. In other words, they all share a common past. One thing they can't seem to do, however, is directly see the future. But there is one particular character within the Half-Life universe who possibly can.
Dr. Freeman.
The G-Man. Who is the G-Man? He seems to be able to see the future. There are multiple examples of this in-game. For instance, he predicts the resonance cascade at Black Mesa, the actions of Gordon Freeman, his escape, and the death of Eli Vance. But how does he know what will happen in the future? Can he travel along the dimension of time itself, or is he simply told what to do by his employers? The G-Man is certainly one of the most mysterious characters in all of gaming, and I absolutely have my own theories. However, I'm not going to start speculating about who he is or where he comes from, because I'm more interested in what he can do regarding his abilities related to time, and what insights his abilities gives us in respect to the nature of time within the fictional universe of Half-Life. And also because the absolute best fan theory already exists, and it's from this video by Max Derrat. I really suggest you go watch it because it's really good. There is a link for it in the description, go watch it, yeah. But for the sake of this video, I will briefly mention that I don't think the G-Man is in any way close to human. I think the G-Man looks the way he does because it's a convenient way to appear in front of a three-dimensional being who can't comprehend anything else, but that he himself has connections to higher dimensions, or perhaps comes from a higher dimension itself. We also know that the G-Man has what he calls employers. He refers to them from time to time throughout the series. We don't know who or what these employers are, but it's highly implied that they have some great power over him, and are thus probably higher beings than the G-Man himself, beings with abilities that he doesn't have. My own theory is that the G-Man probably can't predict the events of the future, but his employers can. I think he is as much a pawn for his employers as Gordon and Alyx are pawns of the G-Man. It is possible that the G-Man isn't even able to travel through time on his own, but might be placed exactly where his employers want him to be. So what exactly is time? Nobody in science or philosophy has yet been able to reach an absolute uniform conclusion on what exactly time is. We know space-time exists, and that space and time are inseparable, and that nothing in our three-dimensional space can happen without the existence of time, and vice versa. No time can exist without the existence of a spatial dimension. And time is described as a fourth dimension. But what is time, and why does it behave the way it does? And how does it behave? And as for the nature of time, the G-Man offers major insights into the kinds of physical and philosophical properties of time within Half-Life's universe, and that's what I'm going to talk about today. This video is somewhat connected to my previous one about consciousness, so I suggest you watch that one first, but as always, you don't have to. You can just watch this one if you want that. It would seem from our perspective that time moves in one direction. Time moves from the past towards the future, and every moment in the future is the past, and every moment in the past is the future. But then, how fast does time move? And what constitutes a single point in time that we call the present? What is the present? Think about it. We are in the present now, but what is now? What is the present? If time moves in one direction, does it move from point to point, like dots on a line, or is it more like a continuous stream of events that are all connected? Some philosophers argue from this perspective. They claim that since time is a one-dimensional dimension, there are no intervals between moments, and thus past, present, and future do not exist separately, but are one and are all connected. So, does the present exist, or is the present just a transition between the past and future? And do the past and future really truly exist when they are not what we would observe as the present? We have seen the G-Man interact with the flow of time, or at least so it appears to us. In this scene at the end of Half-Life 2,
we've got to get out of here. Maybe we still have...
Time, Dr. Freeman?
And in this one, when the Vortigaunts heal Alyx Vance,
Dr. Freeman.
Time appears to slow down and completely stop right before the G-Man appears. How is that possible? Is he really slowing down time in the universe of Half-Life? And if he is, what does that mean? How does that work? It could all be a simple illusion, of course, a mind trick. We have seen the G-Man interact with the consciousness of Gordon and Alyx before, although he can't interact with the Vortigaunts directly. What we know about the G-Man is that he often appears in a weird, often completely black and formless space. What is this place that the G-Man appears in? Is it some sort of alternate dimension that is separate from time and space? Maybe it's an alternate universe, or a border world similar to what Zen is. We also hear the Vortigaunts speak of something called the Void.
Communion of the vortessence, and that other, a deeper mystery, no deeper than the void itself.
And as the world that the G-Man appears in is completely black and devoid of anything, this could be the Void. We also know that the G-Man can put people into stasis. What this stasis seems to be is a timeless, spaceless dimension. At the end of Half-Life 1, he puts Gordon into stasis and pulls him out of it 20 years later in City 17 at the start of Half-Life 2. Remember this scene?
Time, Dr. Freeman? Is it really that time again?
Here, the G-Man appears to stop time completely and speaks to Gordon for a while before he transfers himself and Gordon into his timeless dark space-time void.
Rather than offer you the illusion of free choice, I will take the liberty of choosing for you.
And insinuates that he's going to put Gordon into stasis again, to use him again at a later time.
If and when your time comes round again. In the meantime, this is where I get off.
So perhaps he is actually transporting himself and Gordon to another place that exists outside of time itself, or is completely independent of time. But here's a very interesting thing. Before he can do this, however, he is interrupted.
We'll see about that.
What are the Vortigaunts doing here? And how did they access this dimension? We haven't seen any indication that the Vortigaunts can travel in space-time like the G-Man can. So how the hell did they appear here? That's another little mind puzzle for you. And now it's time to address a big elephant in the room, namely Determinism. Determinism is a theory of philosophy of cause and effect. Basically, each event in the past causes another event to happen in the future. Following this logic, it would seem like every moment in time is predetermined. In other words, everything that ever can happen will happen and was already predetermined at the beginning of the universe. Everything in the future is already going to happen. Is there a single static timeline that begins at the beginning of the universe? Is every event already predetermined? Or is there a sort of random dice roll taking place before every event on a quantum level? These are complex questions, but if you're interested in reading more about it, then quantum mechanics and, in particular, Heisenberg's uncertainty principle contain the most convincing arguments against determinism. It's way too complex to describe in detail, but I'll try my best to briefly summarize it. Basically, the uncertainty principle states that one can't accurately measure the position of a particle while also measuring the velocity of it. In other words, you can't know where it is or where it will end up just by measuring its velocity, something which you can do with a regular mechanical object like a ball or an apple or a star. Each event of our universe is governed by the complex and frustratingly confusing laws of quantum mechanics. Within the roots of it all, there is some sort of randomization going on, and this randomization makes determinism much less compelling. And given how much physics and science there is written into the lore of Half-Life, I can't see why the uncertainty principle wouldn't exist in the Half-Life universe as well, where interdimensional portals and aliens walk around and literal teleportation devices exist. And speaking of time travel, we know that in Half-Life, time travel is 100% possible. We see it performed by the G-Man. We've seen him pop in and out of existence at very precise and deliberately chosen moments. And we even see it performed by the main characters of the story. The malfunctioning teleporter in Nova Prospekt instantly transports Gordon and Alyx a full week into the future back into Kleiner's lab.
My God, we made it. Dr. Kleiner, let us out!
Alyx? Gordon? But that was over a week ago.
What do you mean? Gordon and I were just there a minute ago.
Fascinating. We seem to have developed a very slow teleport.
What insights into the nature of time travel does this give us? Consider you want to travel in time. What would you need? Since time and space are connected and inseparable, you'd need space-time coordinates. You'd need to know which moment in time to get to and what point in space to get to. So let's assume the G-Man can travel both back in time and forward in time. If that is the case, then that means he is able to see each event of the past and each event of the future. That means that not only is he able to predict the future, this also means that the fictional universe of Half-Life is entirely deterministic. And if you remember, if a universe is deterministic, that means that every event has a causal relation to the event that came before it. That the past, present and future are connected in a single line, and that what will happen in the future is already decided by the past events before it. However, I don't think this is the case at all. I don't think the G-Man can predict the future, and I don't think that the timeline of Half-Life is deterministic. And here are my arguments why. The role of the G-Man is to guide the main character and the story in the right direction. He appears at different moments in time and does little things that drastically changes the course of the future. He plants the sample in Black Mesa. He wakes Gordon from stasis. He appears at points in-game and guides the player in the right direction. I don't think the universe of Half-Life is deterministic because, if it was, then that would make the G-Man's actions completely and utterly useless. If the universe of Half-Life was deterministic, and everything that will happen already appears on the timeline in the future, why would he need to intervene at all? So if the universe of Half-Life is deterministic and the G-Man can predict the future, then wouldn't he be able to predict every single moment in the future? Why then does he seem personally surprised when this happens? He seems genuinely surprised at what's going on, like he didn't expect it. If he was omnipresent, wouldn't he have predicted this interruption by the Vortigaunts? Another interesting thing to note is that the G-Man can't stop the Vortigaunts here. The Vortigaunts are clearly communicating somehow through their own vortessence to interrupt the G-Man's actions, but he can't do anything about it.
We'll see. about that.
We can therefore infer from this that the G-Man can't access the same level of consciousness as the Vortigaunts, and this is indeed very interesting. All of this points towards the fact that the G-Man can't personally see all of time. It just doesn't make sense that he would be able to travel back and forth in time at will. However, there is still a possibility that he can see some of it, or that his employers can. We know that in a deterministic universe, everything in the future is already set in stone. But there is a way to circumvent this by introducing multiverses. Multiple universes may exist, but they are all different from one another because each action and counteraction are decided by random outcomes. So when one action leads to another action, cause and effect, that creates a branch and creates another universe. Determinism may exist, but not for every universe, only for one universe at a time. Alright, I've talked for long enough and I went off on a little bit of a tangent there. I hope this video was interesting and inspiring. It's also incredibly fun to talk about this stuff with others and to hear other people's thoughts and insights, because they may be very different from my own. So please, if you want to, tell me your thoughts in the comments. Share this video with someone who might be interested. I genuinely put a lot of effort into this video series and I love these games so much. It's not super important for me whether or not it gets a lot of attention. The main reason I'm making these videos is because I'm just very passionate about the topics. And there is so much to explore, and I can't wait to come up with other ideas and make other videos. It's just something I really love doing. So yeah, I hope you all have a nice day. Remember to be kind to people and stay awesome. And that's all from me today. See you in the next year or something. Bye bye.